communication skills, and whatever I've learned over the years, I'm going to try and share as much as possible with you in the next 1 hour. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Just send me a message, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Don't hesitate to interrupt me while I'm speaking about something. If there's something that you could not understand, please feel free to send me a message, and I'll be happy to answer your question. Okay? So, before we start, I have a question for you. Since you finished your aptitude training, it's a fun question, don't worry, it's not a serious assessment. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to see if you know the answer to that question. I'm going to write it down first. Okay? So the first one is, okay, what is the answer to this? Very easy, right? So tell me, what is the answer to this? Okay, I've just checked from my end, and the connectivity is fine. Please confirm if you're able to hear me and see me clearly. Can the others also confirm if I'm clear now? Okay, now it's fine. Okay, my webcam is on. Kindly confirm if you can see me clearly. Okay, great. All right. Since we're running out of time, I'm just going to jump into, let's just jump into that directly. That way we make our time completely useful today. Okay, so what we're going to talk today primarily is how to develop a professional image. Now, what is a professional image? In a corporate environment, we would have learned how to walk, how to sit, how to stand. power. And despite all of that, a job somewhere. So why will someone not hire you if if you have all the marks in place? There could be one reason, because you're not presentable, might not really be able to get into a good job profile despite having very good marks. So if you see, there are so many students doing limited jobs. So why should someone give you a job over somebody else? So each, but the person sitting next is also a competitor. We have several colleges, and each college is a competitor to the other college. It is a competitor to another student. So what gives us edge for all of us, right? So this edge is your presentation skills and your body language. Switch off the webcam, and that way you'll hear me, and you'll be able to go through the PowerPoint. Webcam is switched off. I believe the connectivity is better, and you can hear me clear. All right. So moving on.
And Mr. Mithun, I have a question. So I have a word with
Yes.
students. So
Okay.
all colleges, I am requesting you, please switch on your webcams so that sir will interact very well. It is like interactive classes, not a one-way communication. And Kuppam
Okay.
Engineering College, GMRIT, Gates College, and all colleges, other colleges.
Sure, sir.
So if you have any problem, let us know. Sentence. Great. And what about other colleges? Yeah.
Okay. So I've switched on my webcam again.
Yes. Unless we say don't turn off your webcams. Okay. We will say because sir could not able to
Great.
see you. Right, sir. You can
Okay. Now
continue,
it's
sir.
one.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You can continue.
I'm able to see all the students, and so full to see all of you. Okay, all right. I can see a lot of smiling faces, some of them waving their hands. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to move on with our presentation for today. So we're talking about developing a professional image. So what is a professional image? So let's look at that. So even if you've got the best, you might not really get a job in a company because you have competition, right? Other students are competition to you. So it's important. First one is dress code and personal hygiene. And the next point that we're going to discuss is professional image and body language. Both of them are very interesting topics, and I hope you have a lot of fun and you learn a lot of things while we go through this. So someone who doesn't dress well or dress professionally and doesn't maintain person, they have no respect for their co-workers. Understand the rules and regulations of each company, the company that we're working for, and we follow those rules. And this shows that we have respect for people around us. So you might be, some might be genius in their particular subject, but they become very unapproachable because of their. Okay. Or if someone is unkempt, the kind of others, all these things really matter in your professional growth. Okay. So we're going to talk about a few things. Am I expected to wear in a corporate environment? So there are business professional clothes. If you look at men and women, they dress very professionally here. Professional clothes and business casuals. Now, if you look at this particular image, the shirts that you're supposed to wear for men, especially the shirts that you're wearing, have to they need to have solid colors. Okay, regular colors, not multicolored shirts, and the shirts preferably need to be white, off-white, maybe red or orange colors like that. Preferably, you should wear long. You need to wear a long sleeves, full sleeves. That way, your sleeves come out of your shirt is seen out of his hands, out of the blazer hands. Your needs to be buttoned up. Okay, and it's important that you wear an undershirt. An undershirt is like a bunion. You wear that inside your shirt, right? And that's part of personal hygiene. Your tie, if you're wearing a tie, in request you to wear a tie times, or if you're going for a special presentation, you need to wear a tie. In cases like you should wear a tie and tie not very bright, okay? And your tie to reach your belt. Uh, and not any lower or not any higher. That's how you maintain, that's how you wear a tie. And we'll get into details of what kind of belt you need to wear and what kind of socks you need to wear. But generally, this will give you a fair idea of what kind of clothes are expected by men and women. Now, living in a country like India, do we need to follow the same rules and regulations that are followed in the, or do we have some different rules here? So we'll get into that because we need to be a little more specific to the country that we live in, correct? So let's get into that. In India, we more or less, in the corporate world, more or less, we follow the same rules, the kind of clothes that we wear, especially for men, almost exactly the same. Blazers and ties and shoes and socks and belt, the kind of watch wear, it's the same. But there is a difference with women. Okay, so the women in India can dress up just like the women, the corporate options. So let's look into that. We'll first start off with your hairstyles. Okay, I'm pretty sure for you to change. Okay, these hairstyles are considered very unprofessional, And this might be okay if you're going for a football, if you're a football, you're a model or something, but if you're getting into a corporate company, these hairstyles will not be acceptable. Okay, this is a good example of good hairstyles for men. Um, Decent and washed, and that's how you maintain a good. These are examples of good hairstyle. If you're speaking about the kind of shirts that we wear, being in India, we watch a lot of movies. Okay, um, uh, Kannada movies, and we watch heroes and how they wear different kinds of colorful shirts. And many of us get inspired by, which is okay if you're just doing it casually and personally, you're going out with friends, you can go ahead and do that. You're completely free to do that. But if you're going for an interview or you're joining a particular company, you need to completely change the way you wear your clothes. Right? The kind of shirts that you choose cannot be very colorful, cannot be gaudy. One of these images shows how his buttons are open and his collar is up. Um, it might look stylish in certain circles, but kind of shirts should we wear? So I've given you two examples here of how exactly what I told you about a tie. This gentleman is wearing a tie and his tie is reaching his belt, right? Nothing below that and nothing above that. So that's exactly how you're supposed to wear your tie. The shirt has to be well fitted. If you see the other image, this person is wearing a half sleeves shirt. If you're not wearing a blazer, a half sleeves shirt is acceptable. If it's a good color, neatly men. You can look at the trousers, you can look at the kind of belt that he's wearing. Women from the West, and we have Indian women wearing saris. So there has been a debate for many years on what is the right professional attire for Indian women. Should they wear uh, should they wear clothes like the women do in the West in a corporate environment, or is the good old sari good clothes like this? This is completely acceptable, and there are a lot of women in India in the corporate arena who wear clothes like this, and they look really smart. So this is completely acceptable. However, in my personal opinion, and I believe in the opinion of a lot of women and people in the corporate industry, there is nothing like the good old sari. They look, for the Indian body type, wearing a sari, they look very powerful. It shows how they can drape a sari so gracefully and do all the work that they're expected to do in a corporate environment. So it shows a lot of elegance, it shows a lot of power. So if the head and wear a sari and you look graceful and it is completely acceptable in the corporate sari, and if you're wearing uh, if you decide to wear jewelry in the corporate environment, um, we're not dressing to go for a wedding, right? In India, South India especially, we like to wear a lot of, women like to wear a lot of jewelry while going for the wedding, for going to wedding parties or so many other functions. But in corporate environment, it is very important that we keep our attire simple. Okay, you can wear one bangle in each hand, and a simple necklace perhaps, right? And your earrings, unlike the picture of So in a corporate environment, in the corporate arena, we generally women don't wear long dangly earrings. They need to wear very simple earrings, perhaps a stud, and that will make them look very professional and very elegant. If women wear makeup, it has to be very simple, very natural, and nothing gaudy. And if you're dressed elegantly and very simply, uh, this is this is considered as very professional. Okay, this is another example of a movie actress who's looking very elegant in a sari. I'm sure you've seen this lady in many other sari always accentuates their looks. Right? So it's completely acceptable. It's traditional, and we need to be proud of our traditions, right? Okay, so coming to socks. You can wear that if you're going for sports, if you're playing football, if you're playing some other game, go ahead and wear whatever socks you want to wear. But if you're going for a meeting or an interview, it's very important that you wear the right kind of socks. Now, who's going to see our socks, right? When you're walking or when and your pants go up a little bit, people will be able to see your socks. So it's important that you wear the right kind of socks. White socks are not acceptable. Good old gray or black is completely acceptable. So you should wear a safe color to wear is black socks. So you should everywhere, and this is something that I'm speaking to men about socks. So make the right choices, please. Regular black socks, and cotton is the most comfortable ones. So wear those socks, and your socks should not be very short. It should be long enough to cover your entire shin. Does not have to go to the knee. Those are stockings. You don't have to wear those. But socks of your legs should not be shown. Okay, and this is specifically for men. So when you sit down, the skin of your leg should not be shown. So your socks have to be long enough so that when you're sitting and you're shown. Okay. What kind of shoes should you wear? Are acceptable, and that's the norm. You can choose to either black or brown. These two colors are acceptable. Go ahead and make your choice between these two. Generally, people buy black, but if you can carry off a brown color, like the one shown on the screen, you can do that as well. Leather shoes have to be maintained. How we wear our shoes, a lot shoe. Your shoes have to be well kept. Leather shoes can get damaged if it's exposed to moisture, rain, and all that, so you need to protect it from that. If you get drenched in the rain, go back home, wipe your shoes. If you take care of your leather shoes can last you an entire lifetime. So it's important that you invest, even if it's a little expensive, invest in the right kind of shoes. Hurt your ankles in any way. They should be comfortable. So even if it's a little expensive, buy those shoes and then well, and you will probably not have to buy a shoe all your life, right? And it's because I maintain them well and they look as good as new. Your shoes regularly, okay, it's important. Never have some foot marks or some dust on it and so on. So keep them nicely polished, and every day before going to work, polish your shoes well. Okay, and if you keep your shoes polished and take care of them, it will stay for a very long time. So shoes, very important aspect. So we'll talk about footwear for women as well. Now, if you look at this, a thumbs down for those stilettos. Stilettos, they're not bad. Women can wear it. Even in the corporate world, women wear it. But the problem is, after you wear it for a few hours, or you continue to wear it every day, you'll start noticing that you have severe knee pain, or pain in the ankle, or your calves are paining, and this can also reach the pain can radiate to your lower back, and you can have multiple issues wearing these stilettos. However, for a regular daily use, if your job involves that you have to move around, obviously you're working in a company, you have to go up and down and enter your car, and so many other walk to your uh, go into the meeting room or go into the restroom and so many other things. So you need to do a lot of walking around. In cases like that, please use regular flats for women, smart shoes which are flats, not very colorful ones, not big ones, not one too many ribbons and flowers and polka dots. Those are all casuals. These are good old leather sandals, flats that can be worn, and it has no health hazard, so to take care of the health of the legs and the lower back very well. So choose your shoes, your footwear very carefully. Shoes are very important. Coming to your belt, these belts, thumbs down. Okay, colorful belts, big buckled belts, not acceptable. Okay, so what kind of belt should you wear? These are two examples that I've given. One is for men and the thinner one is for women. These are formal belts, and you'll see that the buckle is simple, leather belts, black in color. If you're wearing brown shoes, you can also get a brown belt. It goes well together. Your shoes and your belt needs to go, the combination needs to be right. Okay. Women, if you're wearing Western formals, please go ahead and use a belt like the one that I've shown, a simple one. Uh, Obviously, if you're wearing a sari, you don't need a belt. Please don't wear a belt if you're wearing a sari. Okay, of course you know that, I'm joking. Okay, now what kind of watch are you supposed to wear? I've given you a thumbs down on this. Does not mean that these watches are not good. This watch that you're seeing right now on the screen is completely acceptable, but not in a corporate arena. These are sports watches. So if you're going for a swim, or you're going for a jog, or you're going trekking with your friends, you can wear this kind of watch. Otherwise, you need to wear uh, more formal, like these. Okay, uh, there is one for men, and the other example that I've given are for women. If you look at mine, this watch that I'm wearing, it's got a leather strap. This is also acceptable. Okay, it's a simple watch. It's got a leather strap, does not have a metal strap. So if you have a metal strap watch, it's good. If you prefer a leather strap, you can go ahead and use this as well. Okay. Okay, now we're speaking about personal hygiene. We've spoken about your attire, your belt, and what kind of watch you need to wear, long earrings, short earrings, but what about personal hygiene? This very image itself is disgusting. Looking at this person's nails. Okay, so it shows that the first thing that I'm going to talk about is your nail hygiene. Okay, how are you maintaining your nails? Okay, this is not just for women. This is for men also. Okay, it's important that you cut your nails regularly. Okay, we are talking to people with you. You would want to really hesitate because we don't know where we put our hands in. It looks like it's such a mess. Okay, I think we had a small technical glitch. Can everybody hear me now? Kindly confirm. Please confirm if you can hear me. Okay, great. Got a message. Okay, so we're moving on. We're speaking about nails and nail hygiene and how it's important for us to cut our nails regularly and keep it clean. This is for women. Uh, can you, is it allowed to grow your nails and keep it a little long? Yes, it is allowed. You can go ahead and keep your nails uh, long. There is nothing unprofessional about it. But what is not good is that if you grow your nails and if you don't keep it neatly, okay? It's important that we keep our nails neat and don't let any dirt stick behind the nails. So keep that clean. And if you're wearing nail polish, like the one that we're showing on the screen, multicolored and so on, that is not acceptable, okay? So you should not wear multicolored nail polish. This, on the other hand, is acceptable. You can see that the nails are long. However, either there is no nail polish or there is very light nail polish, and that is acceptable. Okay, it has to be neat and it has to be clean. So what is important is personal hygiene, and others should not feel disgusted looking at your fingers. So for men as well, of course we don't wear nail polish. Please don't wear nail polish, men. But it's important that we check our nails regularly and keep them clean. And if your nails are growing slightly above your fingers, keep them chopped. Okay, so preferably every 2-3 days. Every 3 days would be more ideal. Keep the chopped. If you have, some of them have a habit of biting their nails, right? It's very bad, very poor body language, and biting your nails shows extreme lack of hygiene. When someone is biting their nails and then they give their hands for shake hands, oh my God, I wouldn't want to touch anybody's hands once it goes into their mouth. So it's very poor hygiene, and it shows that you have no regard for people that you are communicating with. So when your hands are dirty and you touch the computer, you touch somebody's water bottle, or you keep your hand on somebody, oh, that is just disgusting. So if you have the habit, kick the habit immediately. Okay, that's a very bad habit to have, and it's in fact, even if your friends have that habit, you have to tell your friends, stop doing that. Okay, some people get used to it at a very small age and they continue doing that. And in fact, people who keep biting their nails, it shows their nails are almost half eaten, and that's very poor. Okay. Okay, I have a question. Yeah, Wahida from SRIT, she says, I feel if you have long nails, it may be difficult to operate. That is true. Just before the session, we were having a conversation. I was having a conversation with another trainer about how there was one lady who had very long nails, and she had such a difficult time typing. Okay, I think my webcam is off. Don't worry, it will come back again. Yeah. So she had a very difficult time typing. So she couldn't really use her fingers like this to type. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Trying to share my webcam. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I'm back. Sorry about the technical glitches that we have. Okay, so like I was confirming, uh, poor nail hygiene. So it's best, even if women, like someone suggested, if you can keep your nails short, maybe a little long is fine. You know, you like to keep it a little stylish, that is completely acceptable. But maybe very long, like a lioness, that is not acceptable. Okay, that can make it very uncomfortable for you. And if women wear nail polish, okay, please, if you wish to wear nail polish, please ensure that you keep your nail polish regularly. You keep changing, or sometimes you see that your nail polish is half down, right? Because your nail has grown up and there's only half nail polish left, or it looks like somebody has eaten the nail polish. So that is not good. So if you're wearing nail polish, Keep refreshing it every now and then. As your nail keeps growing it, clean it up and start wearing fresh nail polish. That's very important. Okay. If you keep having any questions or any more observations, please feel free to let me know. Okay. Should men shave? Yes, men should shave. Wahida says, is it suggestible to use dark colors for nails as matching? Dark colors are not allowed for if you're trying to match that with your other clothes. No dark colors. As light as possible. Maybe a pink, or there are some nail polishes which are almost transparent. Once in a while, if you're maybe going for an office party and so on, if you're wearing a red, that's all right. Okay, but dark colors like someone wears a black or a dark blue, these colors are not very good. But red is okay for certain occasions. You can wear a red; it is acceptable. However, for general daily use, it's important that you either don't wear nail polish, or if you're wearing nail polish, keep them light. Like a pink color, baby pink color is completely acceptable, or transparent colors which only gives a certain gloss, that is also acceptable. Okay. For men who about shaving, it's important that men shave every day. Okay, not once a week, not twice a week, every day. It's important to shave. Like the picture that we're showing right now, that's called a stubble. Okay, it's important not to maintain a stubble. It's important to have a clean shave every day. Okay, like this particular example. So clean shave. If you wish to grow a beard, is that allowed? Yes, it is allowed. You can grow a beard, but your beard cannot be unkempt, which means if you grow a beard, you have to regularly trim it and keep it neat. Okay, it cannot be all over the place. That is just doesn't look good. So like the image that we're showing right now, that's a neat beard. So if you desire to grow a beard, have a beard, or if you don't want a beard, keep it clean. Shave it regularly every day, not once in a week or twice a week. Every day it's important to shave. But a stubble is not allowed. Okay, a stubble is allowed if you're a movie star, or you're a cricket star, or a sports star. If you're any of those, you can go ahead and do that. But in the corporate field, just like in the army, you cannot have a stubble. Okay, you need to have a clean shave. Just like in the army, they shave every day. So we follow the same standard here as well. Okay, so this ends our topic on personal hygiene, okay, and your dress code. I'll quickly take you through another important aspect called professional body language. Okay, just like verbal communication. Your next training session will also talk about verbal communication and how important that is. Okay, I have a question from Wahida again. She's asking, is it modern to have French beard for men? Yes, good question, Wahida. Men can have a complete, neat French beard. It is acceptable. However, you will see some guys growing only a goatee, not the mustache, only a goatee. That is not acceptable. Okay, you cannot have a goatee. However, a complete French beard which is neatly maintained, well trimmed, is professional and is acceptable, and it's very modern. You can go ahead and do that. Please don't grow only a goatee. Okay. However, if somebody wants only a mustache, if it's neatly maintained, yes, you can have a mustache as well. Okay, so a beard, a mustache, a French beard is acceptable as long as you trim it well and maintain it well. Okay, but not a goatee. A goatee is not acceptable. Thank you for your question, Aida. Okay, so body language. Now, speaking about body language, there is good posture and there is bad posture. So, like you can see in the image, there is one guy who is standing straight and his back is straight, and the other guy is slouching, is So if you look at this image, you clearly know who looks more confident and who doesn't look confident. So if you have a habit of slouching, slouching means bending like this forward and sitting like that. That shows very bad body posture. It shows a lot of lack of confidence. Like here, it shows it increases back pain, and often caused by extended hours of poor posture. So if you continue to stand like this constantly, you'll get a back pain, okay, which is not good. Right? It's not good. In course of time, you'll see how your back and your shoulders, they start paining. So if you have bad posture, please correct it. Some physical exercises and all that really helps to correct your posture. If you're constantly conscious of your posture, you will know when to sit upright and keep it straight. Okay, and if your posture is something about body language is that your body and your mind are connected to each other. So whatever your mind is going through, it will be reflected in your body. And it works the other way also. Whatever you start doing with your body, it reflects on your mind as well. So if you're sitting straight and you're looking confident, your mind will start feeling confident. Okay, that's how it works. It works like magic. Okay, so your appearance, your communication, all of that, you can speak a lot through non-verbal communication. Like in the next session, our trainer will be speaking about verbal communication, but here I'm talking about non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is how you stand, how you keep your facial expressions, and how you communicate with people. Okay? So this is an example of good posture, very poor posture. Okay, there are two postures which are very poor, where your head is bent forward and your back is flat. The other one is your back is sways, pushed forward, and your head is bent. Both these are extremes and they're not good at all, even for your health and even for people who are looking at you. However, a good posture is standing up straight, okay, erect, and this shows a lot of confidence as well. And please keep this in mind, this is for both men and women. Okay, it's not only for men, it's for women as well. A closed posture, like we're watching in the picture, if someone has a closed posture, they're sitting like this or closed posture, it shows it's not a very positive posture. It shows that you're not open to learning or open to the opinion of another person. So like I'm speaking to you from the beginning of my conversation, I'm showing how if you're looking at me, my hands are open and I'm speaking to you like this. Okay, so it's important that while you communicate with people, your hands are open and you don't lock them up like this. This shows that you have nothing to hide. You're very open, you have nothing to hide, and you're just here to help everybody. So this is good body language. Never close yourself like that. Okay. Okay, this is another example of an open posture while you're speaking. These two are examples of bad posture. Okay, either locking your hands behind or sitting like this. Okay, so this shows, if you're sitting like this, it shows that I'm the boss and I don't really want to listen to your opinion. Okay, or somebody is putting their hands behind, it shows that they're dominating. Okay, so you don't want to come across as a very dominating person. So avoid these postures that you can see on the screen right now. Please kindly try and avoid these two postures. They're very negative postures. Now this is one lady showing various examples of a posture while you're sitting down. Okay, so when you're sitting down, if you see how she's sitting in the sitting first, she's slouching, she's bending down. It just shows that she's completely bored and nervous and she doesn't know what to do. The next posture shows again that she is bored. The third one shows that she's overconfident. And the last one is very positive. She's sitting straight, she looks enthusiastic, and she's ready. Right? She's ready for an interview. So while you're waiting for an interview, remember your interview does not only begin when you walk into the manager's cabin and the person starts speaking to you and looking at your resume. Your interview begins from the moment you enter the office. How you walk in, how you behave with others, how you drink water, how you're seated, and how you conduct yourself. Right? All of these things are watched. People watch you and people will judge you based on that. So your personality is very important. And if you watch these things, you will see how this gives you an edge over all others. Okay, so these are some more examples of poor body language. When you're sitting down, you're holding your hands, you're scratching, and you're putting your head down, and it shows that you're very nervous. It shows that you have lack of confidence. So avoid these. Okay, and in fact, if you, like I told you, if you sit up straight and you look confident, and you make eye contact. There is something called as eye contact. When you're looking into the eyes of the person you're speaking to, it shows a lot of confidence. In fact, when people don't look at the eyes, when you're speaking and somebody doesn't look into your eyes directly, and while they're speaking and explaining, it shows that they might be telling you a lie. Okay, people who are telling you lies, they don't really look at your eyes, or they will keep fiddling with their face. They keep doing things like this. Okay, or they don't look into your eyes, or they look here and there. So these are all physical body language. This kind of body language actually shows that the person might be lying, telling you a lie. So be aware of that. So especially in an interview, they want you to be honest. So look into their eye, have an open body posture, make good eye contact, keep your head held high, and speak politely and nicely, and you'll make a very good impression. Okay, this is another example of bad body posture. Either leaning forward is bad, or if you have a reclining chair and you're going behind, it just shows you're not serious about the job, you're not confident, and you don't know what you're doing there. Right? You have no answers to any of the questions. So even if your scores are very good, you might not really get a job if you don't take care of these very fine details. These are some examples of how your body posture needs to be. The first one is slump and slouch. You're bending down. That is not good. The other is a forced upright. It's almost like you're doing yoga. It's good for yoga, but it's not good if you're sitting like that the whole day. All right. So the last one shows poised and relaxed. You need to be relaxed. You need to be comfortable. Okay. It's not a posture for meditation. You're here for an interview, so you need to look comfortable and confident. Now, speaking about a good handshake, how do you shake hands with people? I'm sure you meet friends every day and you shake hands with your friends, but is there a particular way that you shouldn't shake hands as well? Okay, so I'm going to talk about how you can shake hands, okay, how you should shake hands, what are the do's and don'ts. Like I said, if you have any questions for any of the topics that I've spoken, please feel free to ask me questions, feel free to interrupt me anytime, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay, so good handshake, you see some images here. If while you're shaking hands, if your hand is above the other person's hand like that, okay, it's showing that you're taking control, you're in full control, okay. If you give your hand like this and you're letting the other person like that, then it shows that you're giving control to that person. So this generally happens between a superior and a junior. If a superior in a company is giving their hand like that, you can give your hand, you can show your hand like this. So you're showing that I accept that I'm subordinate to you. Okay, it could be a professor in a college and so on. So otherwise, a general handshake is when you give your hand straight, directly, right? A straight handshake, not like this and not like this. That's the general handshake, which is acceptable everywhere. The last one is called the glove handshake. Okay, well, I'll tell you a little more about it. However, this is not allowed. Generally, between friends, we do that, right? Or you do this and this and this. All that is completely acceptable only amongst friends. Okay, but in a professional environment, Please don't try and do this when you go for an interview. If somebody gives you their hand and you're doing this and this and this and all that is not acceptable. Please ensure that you stick to the good old formal handshake. This is called the Queen's handshake, or it's also called the dead fish handshake, when someone gives their hand like this. Okay, completely weak, they give their hand like this, and it shows complete lack of confidence, and you have no confidence in yourself, and you've just given your hand like that. So it's important not to do that. I have some cousins in my family who also do the other extreme. They're physically very strong. They give your hand, you give it to them, and they'll crush it, right? So that's another extreme. So don't do that as well. So the key is to be between the dead fish handshake and the very strong handshake, and that is called a firm handshake. A firm handshake is a nice, firm, strong, but not too strong handshake. You're able to grip the hand of the person properly. Okay, grip it well. That's a good handshake. And a handshake is a handshake. You just don't hold and leave it. You hold and you shake hands. A very important aspect of shaking hands is that you make eye contact. When you shake hands with someone, you need to look into the eye of the person you're shaking hands with. Okay? It's not that you're shaking hands with someone and you're looking somewhere else. That shows disrespect. Another important aspect when you're shaking hands with someone, if you are sitting down and the other person is standing, and if you have to shake hands, please stand up and shake hands with that person. Okay, standing up and shaking hands shows that you have respect for that person. Okay, so these are some details like that. Here you can see the Hillary Clinton is giving a handshake, and like I mentioned, she's giving her hand is on top, and is showing that she's in control. And the other person is giving his hand like that. It shows that he's her subordinate. Okay, so don't forget to observe while you're watching TV between politicians and so on. You will see how when they shake hands, they either take control or they show subordination to another person. This is called the glove handshake. Okay, the glove handshake. You would have seen our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. He does this quite often when he is shaking hands with someone. It shows a lot of warmth and a lot of care. It shows that you're here to be a good friend. Okay, so if you need not do this when you're going for an interview. In an interview, this is not required. Build a business rapport with them. You have a fairly good friendly relationship with someone, you can use this, right? You are free to mingle and put your hand around, and that's completely all right. But if you're meeting with someone who's not really your friend, you should maintain distance. And generally speaking, for I'm trying to make it easy for you to understand. A one-arm distance, right? If you're a one-arm distance between a person like that, this much, okay, if you put your two arms around like that, that's called your personal space. And you need not let anybody within this personal space unless that person is known to you, that person is a good friend, then you can let that person in. So what do you do if someone just walks in into your personal space? How do you handle a situation like that? You don't have to get too aggressive, but you can just walk back. And while you walk back, you will see that that person will get the message and they will know, okay, all right, this is, maybe that person is uncomfortable. Or even if that person does not get the message, even after you walk back, the person walks further, closer to you, you can always tell that person, uh, please don't enter my personal space. And there is nothing wrong with that. You can be polite, but you can tell them very clearly, please don't enter my personal space. It's very important that we learn and we respect ourselves. And when you respect yourself, you'll see how others also respect you. Okay? So this is personal space. Remember this. All right. So I'm going to end my session here today. I'd like to welcome any questions. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, you could share them with me and I'll be happy to take them. If you have any feedback for me, I'll be very happy to take them as well. If you have any questions, feel free to type them out and I'll be happy to answer them. Or if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and do that. But otherwise, remember that everything I told you today is not for, need not necessarily be on a personal level when you're mingling with friends and so on. This is strictly for a professional environment, for the corporate field, when you're working in a company. These are certain rules that we follow, and this will give you an edge over everybody else, and you will come across as a very professional and respectable person. Okay, so everything matters. So it's not just how good, what kind of a performer are you at work. Everything matters. People watch your nails, your earrings, and your personal hygiene. Do you take bath regularly? Do you wash your hair regularly? How you comb your hair? All this will take you a long way in your career. Okay, so if you want to grow faster in your career compared to everybody else, it has personally helped me, and I'd advise that all of you follow this as well. Okay, so I don't see any more questions coming up, but if you do have any questions, please feel free, and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, then in the next few minutes, we will be moving on to our next session. And I promise you, the next session we have a very experienced trainer and you're going to have a lot of fun and you will learn a lot of things in our coming session. Okay? So I'm going to end the session now that I'm not getting any questions or comments. Okay, so I'm just going to switch off the webcam, but we'll still be on. I'll still be online, and the next trainer will walk in the next few minutes. Thank you very much for your time and for your patience. Good luck.
Hello, sir.
Can I see your webcams on?
Can all of you see me? Can you hear me? How's it? Good afternoon, or is it good evening? Not yet. It's good afternoon still. I understand all of you are from various engineering colleges in the West Godavari district of Andhra Pradesh. Is that correct? Can I get some response, please? Good afternoon. Shri Prakash saying good afternoon to me. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Just change your name.
Oh yeah, I think I'm still being shown as Mithun. But my name is not Mithun. My name, I thought I'll tell them my name a little. No, that's not the correct spelling of my name. Right. May I type that out, please? Mine is a difficult name. Okay. Somebody's asking me to wait for 5 minutes. APS's DC is asking me to wait for 5 minutes.
All the colleges, please share your webcam.
Should we begin?
All the colleges, please share your webcam. Sir is waiting.
One college is shared.
Yeah.
Do you want to minimize this?
No, that's okay.
It's okay.
No.
You'll be able to see the screen.
Are we ready? Please give me a heads up whenever you feel that everybody is ready and I can begin. Okay, great. So I know all of you are from various engineering colleges in Andhra Pradesh, So I thought I'll start with a little Telugu because I lived in Andhra Pradesh for 10 years. So మీ పేరు అభిజిత్ భట్టాచార్య. I hope you're all doing well. Bagunara. I know a little bit of Telugu and I thought I should begin with that. Abhijit is my name. Call me Abhijit Bhattacharya. And I have been a corporate trainer and facilitator for the last 25 years. It's been a long journey for me, and I'm here today to share some of my experiences with all of you. But before that, to tell you a little bit about yourself, my last corporate company was Wipro Technologies. I worked there for about 7 years before I became an independent consultant. Before that, I was in Hyderabad. I used to work with the ICFA University Group, and I worked there for more than 6 years as the head of training and development, and I used to teach both at their institutions as well as take care of employees development. I've been a visiting faculty in several colleges, including the ICFI Business School, the AMPI Business School, National Institute of Fashion Technology, as well as ASCII. So that's what I have been doing over the last 20-25 years. So what we're going to talk about today is the art of communication. And I have divided my section into 2 to 3 parts, and depending upon the time available, we will decide how much we're going to share with all of you. So first thing that I want to ask you is communication important? And if it is, why is it important? I'd love to get some responses. To help you understand the importance of communication, let me tell you a story. This story is of 2 brothers. I know both these brothers personally. One's name is Anirudh, he is the elder brother, and the younger brother's name is Amit. Now Amit was my batchmate. Amit's elder brother Anirudh was a brilliant student. So brilliant that he went to do his engineering at IIT Kharagpur. Somebody's conveying feelings. So I'll just hold on for a second before I tell you the story. Okay, conveying feelings. No, that's the definition. I'll come back to that. So I'll go ahead with my story of Amit and Anirudh. So Anirudh, who's the elder brother, was so brilliant that he went to study in IIT Kharagpur, as I told you. His younger brother Amit, who was my batchmate, was also a good student, but not as brilliant as his elder brother. He also went to study engineering, but he went to study engineering at an engineering college at a place called Agartala in Tripura. And I'm telling you, this is a true story, and you can check both these people out on LinkedIn or somewhere and check out what they are both doing. So the elder brother who went to IIT Kharagpur today works for a company called PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a reasonably good company. But the younger brother Amit today, he works for a company called Accenture, and not only does he work there, he works as a partner, and he is the global service delivery head for the infrastructure business of Accenture. So what I'm trying to tell you is that, and I think Mithun also told you a little while back, that the kind of education that you will all get is all similar. But what will be the difference? The difference for you is going to be your ability to communicate. If you can communicate properly, if you can communicate accurately, success will kiss your feet. Nothing in this world will stop you from being successful. Now that is the reason why communication is so very, very important. Let us look at the definition of communication. As you see here in this picture out there, there is a sender and there is a receiver. And there is communication happening between the sender and the receiver. There is communication which is sent through, and there is a feedback that comes back from the. So if I were to define communication to all of you, I would define it as a medium through which we can exchange our thoughts, ideas, and feelings. And that's where I come to, because somebody wrote in the chat box that communication conveys feelings. You are absolutely right. Communication conveys feelings, thoughts, and ideas. We get different kinds of thoughts, we get ideas, we get feelings. All that is being shared through a medium of communication. And that is why it is important. Because I may have the finest idea in my mind, I may have a great thought in my mind, but if I'm unable to communicate it to another person, then I may not get the desired result. To get the desired results, therefore, it is imperative for me to be able to put my thought across, put my idea across, put my feelings across to the other person. And that is the reason why communication becomes such an important tool to do business successfully in this world. And today, as you all are aware, it is not just doing business in the country. I mean, today we are talking about a global village, and you interact with people across the world, and that's why communication becomes a subject which becomes of greater importance, because we are dealing with people from across the world. Now, let us now look at the different methods. How are we communicating? Right now, we are using a method of speaking and listening. Obviously, throughout this session, I'm going to do most of the speaking, and you are going to do a lot of the listening, and I will be checking to see whether you are listening or not. But there is a third way also. There's a third method also, which is writing. And we do have to write at times to convey our thoughts and feelings, our ideas to another person. So let us first look at writing. Let us first spend a little time on writing, and then we will move to the other two, which is speaking and listening. My suggestion to all of you is that if you have a notepad in front of you, you may wish to take a few notes, because I don't know whether I can share this slide deck with you. If it is possible, I would like to share it with you. I don't know whose email ID I can send it to so that you can get this particular slide deck. But if I cannot get this slide deck out to you, it would be a great idea if you can take a few notes. So let's look at writing as a first. I call it the 3 C's of writing. When you write to anybody, today of course we don't use a pen and paper to write so much. Most of us do our writing over on a keyboard, because we type an email or we write a letter, everything we do on a keyboard. 3 things to be kept in mind. Number 1, and the first C, is concise. When I say concise, I mean to the point. To the point. When you are writing, you can't go here, there, and come back to the topic. You have to stick to the point. Stick to your point all the time. Make it concise. If you elaborate it, if you go into too much detail, people will not read. Today's world, we have something called attention deficiency. People do not have time. If you write too much, nobody will read it. I'm not saying don't write in your question paper, answer sheets. Please do write in your answer sheets. But I'm talking about an effective professional communication, which you will have to do when you say apply for a job. You will write an application letter. Don't go into great deal. Don't go into 2 pages, 3 pages. Nobody will read it. Just a few lines, concise, to the point. Number 2, it has to be courteous. You must know where to say please. You must know where to say thank you. Courtesy is very, very important. I have a chat message from Fairoza. Let me try and answer that as I go along. Just give me a moment as I type out my message. Right. So I was talking about courtesy. So, and I said you must know when to say your please and thank you. Not only that, courtesy is not just about your please and thank you. Courtesy is also about what salutation you're going to use. For example, are you going to write dear sir? Are you going to write dear Mr. So-and-so? Courtesy is about also getting the person's name right. For example, if you are writing a letter or an application to me, you must get the spelling of my name correct. And those are all part of courtesy. Now, if you see on the screen, my name is spelled as Abhijit. But I know in South India, a lot of people write my name as Abhijith. Now, I don't mind it. It's okay. But what I'm telling you, courtesy will be when you do some checking, do some homework to really find out what is the correct spelling of this person's name and get that right. That proves to the other person that you are courteous. You are not at all disrespecting the other person. You are taking the time and the effort to find out what is the accurate name of the person and write that. That is courtesy. Courtesy is also in writing is what are you going to sign off as? Are you going to sign off with regards? Or are you going to say thanking you? Or are you going to say yours sincerely? All those are which you are going to sign off with, which proves that you are courteous in your writing. So your writing not only has to be concise, it also has to be courteous. And third point, and third one is the most important point, it has to be correct. When I say correct, I mean two things. You must get your spellings correct. English is a funny language, you know. All of you know that. English is a funny language, and sometimes we may get the spelling wrong. So it's a good idea to have your spell check on so that you know which is the right spelling. Also, sometimes you have grammatical errors. It's important that you get your grammar right. So in grammar, there are two things that usually gets overlooked, and you may want to keep those two things in mind. One is, of course, tense. At which tense are you writing? And the second is the use of prepositions. Preposition and tenses are two things that I would request you to keep in mind so that your writing is accurate and correct all the time. Below out of the screen, I have given you a model. A model is a four-step model which says think, write, edit, publish. Whatever you write, believe me, never send out anything, never send anything out, not even an email without editing and publishing it. It is critical that you think, write it down, put it on the sheet of paper, edit it. When you edit it, you will find, you yourself will find, if each one of you have reached an engineering college in your career, it means that you know English. There's no question about it. You know it. But what happens to us? Sometimes what happens to us is that, you know, small things get overlooked. So sometimes what may happen is that, you know, we get a little confused with the grammar here. So it would be a great idea if you sit down to edit it, because when you edit, you will realize where your own mistakes are. And when you know what your own mistakes are, you can correct yourself. You don't need anyone else to come and correct it for you. You can correct it for yourself. So these are a few important points that I would request you to look at as far as your writing skills are concerned. I'm now going to move into speaking skills. I'm going to ask you to elaborate and tell me what you feel about these particular points up there on the screen. So first point coming up here, speaking skills. As you see, there are quite a few points. There are about 6 or 7 points out there, and I'd like to ask some of you, what do you think is the difference between the first two points out there? Knowing your subject and thinking it through. Can anybody go ahead and respond there? What do you think is the difference between knowing your subject and thinking it through? Go ahead, anybody? Knowing your subject and thinking it through. When I put this slide up last night when I made it, I had something in mind, particularly when I put these 2 points out there. So I'm asking you, can any of you try and tell me what could be the difference between these 2 points? Knowing your subject and thinking it through. Nobody? Okay. Let me explain you, and let me try and see if I can bring some clarity to this 2 particular points. Knowing your subject means that you have enough knowledge and data points about the topic or the subject that you're going to talk about, whatever it is. It could be one of your technical subjects, it could be anything that you're going to talk about. It is how much you know about your subject. But thinking it through is slightly different. Thinking it through means, have you been able to sequence it? What comes first? What comes second? What comes third? And so on. Thinking it through is, what is going to be my introduction? What am I going to say first? What are the 2 points I'm going to make next? And then how am I going to finally close the whole thing? So that is the difference between the two. It's very, very important to look at the difference between the 2 points. Knowing my subject is that I have done enough homework at my end, I have done enough preparation at my end to pick up knowledge and data points about my subject. Thinking it through means I have now, based on the information that I have, based on the data that I have gathered, I need to now sequence it. Sequence it. What am I going to talk about first? What am I going to talk about second? What am I going to talk about third? And so on. So that there is a link between what I'm saying. My second part of my presentation as well today, this evening, we will come across another part where we'll talk about this much more in detail. But it is important to get this distinction right at this moment, that knowing my subject is to know the topic that I want to talk about or discuss about, and thinking it through is to put it into sequence. The third point is to the point. We talked about that in our writing skills as well when we talked about sequence, or when we talked about concise. Concise means to the point. We can't beat around the bush. We have to, stick to the point and come to the point that we are talking about to our audience. Fourth point is to make it simple. Now, how do I make it simple? How do I make anything simple? Can anybody tell me, how can I make something simple? How? How can I make anything simple? Okay, let me ask you this question. So you are all engineering students. You have a difficult engineering topic, which you need to explain to somebody who doesn't know engineering. How will you explain that to that person? So that the person who doesn't know engineering can understand your engineering theory or principle that you're talking about. How will you explain it to the other person? Can any of you give an example? Go ahead, anybody. Give me an example. How will you make anything simple? Take an example of an engineering principle or an engineering diagram, which suppose you have to explain it to your grandmother. Your grandmother sees your copy and she sees the diagram of an engineering model and she asks you, what is this? How will you explain it to your grandmother? Come on. How will you explain it? Your grandmother asks you. Your grandmother chances to look at your book and she sees an engineering diagram and she asks you, what is this? How will you explain it to her? Tell me. You know the subject. You know your engineering diagram. Your grandmother doesn't know it. How will you explain it? Anybody, come on. Okay, let me tell you. To make things simple, there are 2-3 ways, and you may like to make a note of it. The first way to make anything simple is by telling a story. The second way to make anything simple is through an analogy. Any of you tell me what is an analogy? Anybody? Can you tell me what is an analogy? You all know what is a story, but can you tell me what is an analogy? Okay, let me tell you. An analogy is nothing else but a comparative example which will elaborate the complex thing that you are describing to another person. So when we talk about making things simple, I can simple thing. Anything in this world, to make it simple, always remember, supposing you have to explain it to your grandmother or to your grandson, how will you make it simple? You can make it simple by an example, by a story, or by an analogy. And those are things which will make it simple for another person to understand. They do not understand the difficult, complex, scientific diagram that you have. So this is the reason why a story, an example, or an analogy will help make them understand. Moving on to the next point, avoid jargon. What is jargon? Can any of you tell me what is jargon? What is jargon? It is the point on the sorry, it's the 5th point on the slide. It says avoid jargon. What is the jargon? Anybody? Now, I'm sure that word jargon is becoming not so simple. A jargon, let me tell you, a jargon is a term. It's a term or a terminology associated with a particular subject, which that people, those who are in that field understand, others don't. For example, let me give you an example to elaborate on. Let's take the software industry. In the software industry, we talk about something called CR. All right. I think some of you lost my voice, so I'm going to the point of jargon, and I'm giving an example. In the software industry, switch off your webcam for a while so that your voice is clear. My voice is not clear. I'm told my voice is not clear at this moment, so I'm just stopping my webcam. See if my voice will get more clarity. If it is much more clearer now, please give me a signal it is clearer, and when it is clearer, I'll switch on my webcam again. Okay, so let me explain the point jargon, and then I'll switch back the webcam. So just bear with me for about a minute. A jargon, as I was telling you, is a term or a terminology which is associated with a particular industry. Somebody has written jargon means avoiding unnecessary. No, that is not correct. A jargon is a term or terminology used in a particular field. For example, I'll give you a couple of examples. To a hospital. God forbid, you should not be required to go to a hospital. But if you go to a hospital will say ECG. You get an ECG done. Now, some of us today know that an ECG is a jargon from the hospital industry, which is called an electrocardiogram. It is also an acronym. So a jargon is a particular term used in a particular industry. For example, in the software industry, you will come across jargons like SLA. And SLA is nothing else but service level agreements, or a POC. A POC is a proof of concept, and so on. So what we are saying that at times you will have to use jargon and acronyms. But if you are using a jargon, if you are using an acronym, elaborate it. Elaborate it so that the other party is able to understand it easily. Remember, the objective of communication is to make the other person understand. If the other person does not understand what you're speaking, there is no point in speaking. So it is important that you clarify and make it simple for the other person to understand. So avoid jargon, elaborate acronyms. For example, I gave a few acronyms like CR. CR is a change request. But when you say CR, you don't understand what that means. But when you say it's a change request, somebody is making a request for a little change in some work that is happening. That makes it easier for another person to understand. So simplicity, to make it simple, we also have to avoid jargon and elaborate acronyms. My final point on speaking skills is check for understanding. How can I check whether the other person has understood what I'm saying? How can I check that? I have a question on the chat which says, if we do not know the acronym, how can we elaborate it? That's a very good question. My answer to that is, if you do not know the acronym, please do not use it. If you do not know the full form of the acronym, it is not such a good idea to use it. You may want to avoid that completely because you yourself don't know the full form of that acronym. I would suggest that you don't use an acronym which you cannot elaborate upon. Does that answer your question, Wahida? Welcome. Wahida says, thank you. So I'm just saying welcome to Wahida. So, and final point on that slide is check for your understanding. Check for the other person's understanding. How? Has the other person understood or not understood? How can I check that? At this moment, on this particular technology meeting that we are doing, how can I check whether you have understood what I've said or not? Ideally, I should give you a small test after I finish, and you should write that test, and that test will tell me whether you understood or not. But that may not be possible all the time. So how can I check? I can check by asking you some questions. Absolutely right, Wahida. I can put some questions, and those questions can tell me whether you are able to, the moment you are able to give me those answers, I know that you are able to understand what I'm saying to you. So these are a few ways that you can check whether the other person has understood you or not. Finally, I'll move on to listening skills. And in listening skills, I have just a few points, and I'm going to quickly elaborate those few points. You see, there are only 4 points out there. And let me elaborate and explain you these 4 points one by one. I will try, I'll share my webcam one more time to see whether I'm still audible, and if I'm audible, I'll go on. Otherwise, I'll switch off my webcam once again. Is my voice good everywhere? Yes or no? Wonderful. Right, I've got a yes. Fantastic. Okay, now listening remember, I'll tell you something here right now. There is no school in this world which teaches you listening. If you go to the market, if you go to a bookstore and if you start looking for books, you will find at least books which gives you speaking skills. But never find a book on listening skills. And I'm going to explain these 4 points to you. And if you take a note of these 4 points in your life, I can tell you this can change the paradigm of your life. Number 1 is attentive listening. When you are listening, we have to pay attention. If we don't pay attention, you will not even listen. I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat that one more time. If you don't pay attention, you are not even going to hear. Forget about listening. Which means there is a difference between hearing and listening. Can any of you tell me what is the difference? What is hearing? What is listening? What is the difference? Difference between hearing and listening. Go on, who will tell me? Who will give me the first response? Come on. What is the difference between hearing and listening? Oh, fantastic. Wahida from SRIT is giving me an answer. She says, listening means, hearing, she says, is just hearing, not paying attention, but listening means really paying attention. Yeah, you're right. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Somebody once told me, asked me, what is the difference between hearing and listening? And I said, the difference between hearing and listening is 90 degrees. 90 degrees. Did you get that? He asked me, what is 90 degrees? And how has listening or hearing got to do with degrees? Degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, these are geometrical terms. I said, exactly. Exactly. And I told him, and I'm going to show this to you, and that's why I put this webcam on. Look at this. When I hear, it goes in and goes out. It's a straight line, 180 degrees. But when I listen, it goes in and forms a right angle to go up to my brain. So listening requires attention. Listening requires patience. Hearing does not require anything. We hear so many things, but do we even listen to it? There's a car going by, it makes a noise. There's a fan, makes a noise. Those are all things that we are hearing. But are we listening to that? We are not listening. Probably at this moment you are listening to me. Probably. Are you all listening to me? Or are you just hearing me? Tell me. Are you just listening to me or are you just hearing me? Listening means really, really paying attention, trying to comprehend, trying to understand, trying to assimilate patiently what is the other person trying to say. Without paying attention, we cannot listen. We will only hear. And there are 400 things that we hear in the day. We hardly listen to any 2 or 3 out of those. It is important to listen. And while you listen, go to the second point. Take notes. Please listen carefully now. I'm going to make a profound statement. I'm going to make a profound statement. The statement I'm making is, a short pencil is better than a long memory. A short pencil is better than a long memory. When you take notes, when you write down, it helps you remember. Does it not? What do you feel? If you write down, does it help you remember? Of course it does. If I write down, it helps me remember. I can go back to it, refer to it, refresh my mind. Remember, always remember, a short pencil is better than a long memory. Always write down important points. Write down triggers which help you remember. Write down bullet points. Write down, because that helps you remember. That helps you listen better. That helps you attain attentive listening. If you make notes, you will never forget in your life. Let me give you another example. I lived in Hyderabad for 10 years. And in the city of Hyderabad, my office used to be in a place called Gachibowli. And I used to live in a place called Tarnaka, which is about 30 kilometers from me. And every evening when I was to come home, sometimes I'm driving back home, I'd get a call from my wife or my son or somebody from the family is telling me to bring a few things. Get this, get this, get this, get this, 3-4 items. Now because I'm driving, I cannot write. By the time I go to the shop, I have forgotten half of the thing. So when I go home back, I am only taking a few things from the complete list of things which have been given to me. So ends up that after going home, I have to get out again. So what did I do? I said, now I can't write when I'm driving. So I told my wife one day and I said, hey, look, do one thing. Whatever you want me to pick up on the way, why don't you write it in an SMS and SMS it to me? So when I go to the shop, I don't have to remember anything. I just have to take out my phone, look at the SMS, and each of the things is there, and there's no way that I'll forget anything. So what am I doing? By getting somebody to take notes, it is helping me remember what I have to do, and therefore I will not forget anything. You see the benefit of taking notes? My suggestion to all of you, and I suggest you do this right away, always take notes. Always have a pen and paper with you. Always pick up the pen and paper and make a few notes as to what were the important points made by the speaker. That will help you remember. That will help you remember and take action tomorrow when the need comes. Point number 3, out there on your screen, is clarify. How can we clarify? I'm asking you, how can you clarify? Give me some response. How do you clarify? How can anybody clarify? Come on, students, tell me, how do you clarify? Anybody? How do we clarify? Can I get in some responses? Yeah, I get some responses here. Okay. Okay, there was a question before and I'm just seeing it now. So I'm going to go back to that question. The question was, if there is a barrier, how do we listen? Can you clarify and tell me what is this barrier that you're talking about? What is the barrier? I'll come back to clarify in a minute. I'll clarify the clarify point in a minute, but because there was a question before, which I think I didn't quite notice it, and it said if there is a barrier, I'll not be able to pay attention. What is this barrier that you're talking about? Can you give me an example? I think that's Wahida from SRIT asking, if there is a barrier, how can I pay attention? Wahida, can you tell me what is this barrier? Give me the barrier and I'll tell you how you will overcome the barrier. It can be an environment. It can be a social barrier. Okay, good question, Wahida. An environment can be that the environment is noisy. The environment is noisy, the environment is distracting you. If there is a distraction in the environment, it is difficult to focus, difficult to pay attention. Now, you have two options here. Either you have to stop the distraction or you have to move yourself to a place where there is no distraction. Very simple. There is nothing else you can do. If the distraction is within your control, you have to stop it. If it is not within your control, then you have to move out to an environment where it is conducive to your paying attention. Coming to the second point, which is a social barrier. What is a social barrier? A social barrier can be a preconceived notion. A social barrier can be a prejudice in the mind. A social barrier can be a stereotype. And I'm going to come to that in a little while. Hold on to the social barrier, and I'm going to clarify the social barrier in a little while. Let me now move to the point of clarify. And we were talking about clarity. How do I clarify? Can anybody tell me how can we clarify? Very simple. We clarify by asking questions. But you know what the problem is? The problem is that we don't ask questions. Most of us don't ask questions. A lot of times we are hesitant to ask questions. We think if we ask a question, what will the person say? He will feel, I don't know, I have not understood. Right? That is the precise reason for asking a question. If I have not understood, if I have not clarified, the objective of clarifying is to be able to understand. The objective of listening is to be able to understand. And if I don't understand, then I'm wasting my time. Therefore, asking questions are so very important. I remember many years ago, I'll give you an example, a story. Me and a couple of my friends had a small business. And I'm telling you a story here to elaborate my point. And we had a guy who used to work for us. And I know some of you may not have seen it. Those days, if you collected money from somebody, you had to give a receipt and you had to put a revenue stamp and sign it. So we told this guy to go up to my other friend's room and get a revenue stamp. And we asked him, have you understood? The guy said, yes, I've understood, and he went back. After some time, when he came back, he came carrying a register in his hands. We asked him, is that what we told you? So he did like this, and he went back again. So we thought this time he has understood. But this time he came back carrying my friend's shoes. Now what happened here? Whatever we said, the person did not understand. If he did not understand, what should he have done? He should have asked a question to clarify. What is the revenue stamp? I haven't understood. Can you please explain it to me one more time? But he didn't ask. When he did not ask, what did he have to do? Because he did not ask, he fell into the trap of what we call assumption. And that is something which is there in my next screen. And I'm going into the next screen now to explain that to you, is the word assume. If you do not clarify, you will have to assume. You will have to make an assumption in your mind as to what the point is being made. And if you make an assumption, your assumption can be right, your assumption can be wrong. Both are true. And that is why if you see here on the screen, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So every time you make an assumption, you will end up, there is a fair amount of possibility that you will end up making an ass out of you and me. So it is important, therefore, that we do not assume. And we will end up assuming because we have not asked clarifying questions. Do you get the point? The point, therefore, is so important for all of us in listening is, number one, pay attention, take down important points, make notes. I told you, remember, a short pencil is better than a long memory. And the third thing is to clarify. Clarify and ask questions. And the fourth point, which was there on my slide, is this word paraphrase. Paraphrase means repeating what you have understood. For example, if you tell me something, I will say, hey, if I have understood you correctly, what you mean is this, this, and this. Is that correct? Now, if you say, yes, that's correct, I know what I have understood is exactly what you meant me to understand. So that's how listening is going to be complete. Otherwise, listening will not be complete till you let the other person know what is it that you have understood. And when I repeat it back to you and I say, hey, this, X, Y, Z, is that what you meant? Is that correct? And the other person says, yes, that's correct. That's when I understand that what I listened to and what I understood is what the other person meant. So never ever assume. Always remember to ask questions. always remember, take notes and pay attention when you are listening. With that, I come to a closure of my first part, and I'm giving you a gap to ask a few questions. What?
The last two lines did not come, it's not coming out of voice.
Okay, I'm being told that my voice is not coming. Is it coming, not coming? Yeah, somebody's saying my audio connection is I'm back. Can you all hear me now? Can you hear me now? We had a little bit of an outage here, but we are back. Oh, great, wonderful. So I'm going to question time, and I'm going to watch out for questions. Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes before I go into my next topic to ask any questions on communication, speaking, listening, writing, anything. Go ahead. I think somebody had a question on speaking skills. Can you please repeat that question, please? Somebody had a question on speaking skills, I'm told. Can you please repeat your question? Go on, any question, come on. All clarifications require questions. That's what we discussed a little while back. To clarify, you must ask questions. Go ahead, feel free. Any question? Don't ask me the weight of the moon, I don't know that. But you can ask me any question related to communication, speaking, listening, writing. Yeah, I got a question. Oh no, that's not a question. Somebody's, I think Mel is asking why they have to repeat a question. SRIT, Wahida, did you have a question on speaking skills? Please go ahead and repeat your question. Okay, let me clarify some of the questions I usually get. A lot of people ask me, how can I increase my ability to speak? Now, everybody has an ability to speak, and a lot of times students, when they ask me this question, they actually mean, how can I increase my ability to speak English better? English is certainly not our language, and therefore it requires a little bit of practice. What I suggest to all of you, that if you have to improve your English language skills, it's important that you read English, you hear English, and you speak English. There's no other way to. My suggestion to all of you, if you read a newspaper, you should only read an English newspaper. If you see a movie or if you watch a television channel, you should hear an English channel. Not a Hindi channel or a Telugu channel or any other. It has to be English all the time. And that, if you keep on doing it over a period of time, you will also be able to improve the quality of the English that you speak. So that's a question I usually get. Who has the next question? Okay, looks like nobody has a question. If there are no questions, I'll move into the next part of my in the next part, which is going to be about 20 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about presenting with impact. I'm sure each one of you today have to make presentations, and I'm going to quickly share with you a few tips and techniques of how you can make effective presentations. I wish I was there in front of you, not just on the screen, but in front of you individually, making a face-to-face presentation, because that's one of the best ways to present. However, I'm going to share with you a few tips and techniques which will help you presenting. The first thing is what I call the 3 W's. 3 W's. The 3 W's are who, why, and what. And important to remember is the questions have to be asked in that order. Who means, who is my audience? Now supposing, just to give you an example, if you are making a presentation to your teachers, you will adopt a different style. If you are making a presentation to your fellow students, you will do it in a different way. Supposing you go to a school and you are making a presentation to a group of school students or telling them about the value of engineering education, you will do it differently, isn't it? So the first thing that all of us have to understand is, who is my audience? What is their level? What will they understand? What will make a difference to them? If you know about your students, there is a fair amount of chance that you will be able to answer the next 2 questions. So the first question to answer is, who is my audience? Second question to answer is, why? They say that a wise man asks this question why 3 times. Why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? The question why gives us a very important thing. And I suggest to all of you, it is not only while you make a presentation, this is the question you have to ask yourself all the time. Why am I doing what am I doing? Why always gives us the purpose. Why? Purpose. What is my purpose? Why am I doing it? Your purpose, if your purpose is big enough, you will end up achieving it. If your purpose is motivating enough, you will go ahead and do it. Your purpose has to be stimulating. Your purpose has to be motivating. Why am I doing what am I doing? Ask yourself this question, why? All the time. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? So ask yourself, why am I making this presentation? Presentations usually are made to do 2-3 things. Number one, it could be to inform. You want to pass on some information. You are using a presentation methodology to convey your information. That's something which I am doing right now. You could also use presentation to educate. And the third is you could use presentation to create humor. All three are possible. Now, why are you doing it? If you are using presentation to inform, you would do it in a different way. If you're doing it to educate, you would do it in a different way. If you're doing it only for humor, you will do it in a different way. So ask yourself this question, why? Why am I doing what am I doing? You must have realized that I have spoken this sentence 2-3 times because I want to make an impact upon you about this question, why? If you ask yourself this question, why, all the time, you will end up achieving the result that you want to achieve. This is not only important for your presentation, this is a question which is imperative in your own life. To find purpose of your life. Why are you doing engineering? What is it that you want to happen at the end? Answer that question to yourself. It's a very, very important question that you need to answer to yourself. Final question is what? What am I talking about? What is my topic? What is the point that I'm going to make? So the three questions, the three W's, remember, who, why, and what. The who and the why will determine the what. And that is the reason why it is important to ask the questions in that order. Who, why, what. Are we clear? Have you understood? Give me a yes or a no. Have you got the point? At least nod your heads. I can see you. I can see some Sri Rama Engineering College. I can see you very clearly. If you nod your head and say, I can see your smile. Yes, you were smiling. So even if you nod your head, I know that you are responding. So have you understood this point? Who, why, and what? Yes or no? I can see a broad smile now. I'm assuming that smile is a yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I got your response. Excellent. Thank you so much. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next point. And the next point I'm going to elaborate. And please make a note of this point because I feel it could be extremely useful for you. So here I'm coming to the next slide. If you see in presenting, when you're presenting, this is an important point, and I've used something called a mnemonic here. That is called a mnemonic, and the mnemonic that I've used is called Bomber B. B-O-M-B-E-R-B. Do you see that on the screen? I'm sure you see that. So let me explain that one by one. You start with a bang, you end with a bang. Which means when you start your presentation, to a seminar. It was not actually a seminar, it was a book launch. It was a launch of a product. And this was happening at the Taj Crystal in Banjara Hills. And I went to this product launch, and while we were entering the room, there was a registration counter where we did some registration, put my name there, and while I was entering the hall, they gave me a balloon. A balloon? I asked myself, what do I do with a balloon? What am I meant to do with a balloon? When I went in and sat down, I saw everybody had a balloon. Everybody had a balloon in their hands. So I was wondering, what am I going to do with a balloon in this product launch? So anyway, finally, the presenter came on stage. He said, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this presentation," and all that he said. And he said, "I have some of my colleagues who are passing by, and they will give you a toothpick." So and he said, "Can I request you to hold this balloon on your left hand and hold this toothpick on your right hand?" So we held the balloon left hand and we held the toothpick in the right hand. And then he said, "I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. When I'm going to, at the count of 3, please burst this balloon with the toothpick." And he said, 1, 2, 3. At the count of 3, everybody went bang and the balloons burst. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to start my presentation with a big bang." So am I saying that you should go to your presentation always with balloons? No. That's not what I'm saying. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that. I am saying that was a product launch and that was appropriate for that presenter in that product launch. It may not be appropriate for you. In your presentation, something else might be appropriate. Maybe you could do a small video. In fact, for my presentation today, I did a small video, but we realized that when we play a video on this net meeting, there is a lag and the video does not play well. So I have to discard that video. So you could do a video, you could do a story, you can do a quiz, you can do a game, anything. You do something which will get you the attention of your people. So that is your first bang. That is your first B. The O is outline. Outline your message. Meaning, tell your audience what you're going to tell them. So remember, there are 3 steps. First step, tell them what you're going to tell them. That is the outline. Means today we are going to talk about communication skills, presentation skills. That is the outline of my message. So you tell your audience, this is what I'm going to cover today in my presentation. That's the outline of your message. Then of course your message. What is it that the message that you're going to give? Now important point to remember is never give more than 3 or 4 key messages. 3 or 4 messages, not more than that. Why? Why just 3 or 4? Why just 3 or 4? Anybody tell me, why just 3 or 4 messages, not more? Never give 8, 10, 12, 15 messages. No, just 3, max to max 4, 3 or 4. Certainly not more than 3 or 4. Why not? Tell me, why not? Simple, because people will not remember. If you overload people with too many things, people will forget. The human mind doesn't have the ability to remember too many things. And that is the reason why we forget. Tell me something, all of you. Do you remember everything when you go to the examination hall? No, no. I remember my life as a student. Examination hall, you forget everything. When you come out of the examination hall, suddenly you remember. Yes or no? Oh my God, I forgot that time. Oh, if only I remembered it. It happens to all of us. It is impossible for us to remember everything. And remember, that is the reason why I told you at that time you must write it down. If in the examination, if we were allowed to take a piece of paper, write down all answers and allowed to take that piece of paper, we would all get 100 out of 100. But that doesn't happen. That is the reason why I'm telling you, never give more than 3 or 4 messages. Because people will forget. Next point is bridge. Between your message, message 1 and message 2, you have to connect it. A bridge. We also call it a transition. Okay? The Americans call it a segue. They call it a segue to the next point. You got to connect it. You got to connect point A to point B. If you are teaching alphabet to a young child, after A you will say B. A for apple, B for ball. After A you will not say D. After A you will not say T. Why not? Because that is the sequence, correct? So the sequencing is important. I told you in my speaking skills also that sequencing is important. How is it sequenced? And you get the sequencing right, your audience will understand it easily. Next point, E, is examples. Give examples. When you give examples, people understand. Even difficult things become easy to understand. Difficult problems become easy to understand through examples. Use examples, use stories. I told you a little while ago, use analogies as well. Stories, examples, analogies. These are things which help us understand. Use them, because that helps your audience understand and get the point that you want them to understand. Have you understood, or do you want me to give you an example? An example of an example? Will that help? Okay, let me give you an example. Let me think about one quickly. Okay, let's say I'm talking to somebody about say data warehousing. Do you all know what is data warehousing? You are engineering students. Do you know what is data warehousing? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Maybe not. Data warehousing may not be the right example. Okay, for example, let me give you an example of one point which I made in speaking skills, and Wahida had a question there about, she said perception, she talked about social circumstances. Let me give you an example there. Now supposing, and I'm taking something up for you to see. Here I'm holding up something for you, and if I ask you, is this glass half full or is it half empty? What will you say? Okay, I'm just coming back in a minute. I'll do it. I'm coming back in a minute. Can you hear me? Look at this glass and tell me, is this glass half full or is it half empty? What is the right answer? Is it half full or is it half empty? Give me your answer. You have all seen it. Okay. Can they see me? Give me the answer. Is it half full? Is it half empty? Now, listen to me. Whether you say half empty or whether you say half full, both are correct answers. Yes or no? Yes, it is. Both are correct. Now, let me give you a third perspective. If I say the glass is double than the water it has, is that also correct? The glass is bigger than the water it has. Is that also correct? Yes or no? Sri Rama College of Engineering, I can see you. Give me a nod of your head and say yes or no. Is this also right or wrong? It is right. This is also right. Now, this question I've asked, 3 people can answer it 3 differently. Correct? And all will be right. Which means what? Which means it is the same thing, but 3 people have 3 different perceptions. Do you get the point? which means the social circumstance, the stereotype in the person's mind, the prejudice in the person's mind can be different. I'm only giving you an example to elaborate a point which I made a little while earlier. So examples helps us understand better. That's all I wanted to say as far as examples are concerned. My second last point is repeat. Repeat means keep repeating. If it is an important point, keep repeating it. If you go back to my slide where we had who, why, and what is the point that I kept repeating? I kept repeating the most important point according to me, which was the question why. And I repeated it at least 3 or 4 times, because when you repeat it, it will make an impact on your audience. If you just say it one time and pass it across, people will not even register in their mind. So if you have to make it register in their mind, repeat it. Repeat it 2-3 times, and that will help them remember the point that you are making. Finally, the last point is a bang again. You start with something bang and you close with something which is again a bang. I'll give an example, and I remember this very, very clearly. You know, in Hyderabad, and I lived in Hyderabad for a very long time, we have in Secunderabad a hall called the Harihar Kalaniketan. And about some 2-3 years ago, I went to see a magic show. Have you seen a magic show? Some of you? I love magic shows. They're really fun to see. And this was the magic show of PC Sarkar. And he calls it Indrojal. And he waves and it does a whole lot of thing, and you know, it's a great show. 2 hours of fun. I am going to tell you the last item he did. Last item, he's on stage. PC Sarkar, the magician, is on stage, and he has a turban, and suddenly he's talking to the audience, and suddenly there is a flash of light and there is a smoke, and he disappears from the stage. He disappears. And suddenly, within a few seconds, he comes in the middle of the audience and shouts like this and says, "Here am I." What happens to the audience? Audience are like that. Oh my God, where did this guy come from? So it's, and then he walks down to the stage, bows down and says, "Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. Please come back again to my show," and the curtains come down and people are walking out. When people are walking out, what are they talking about? They're saying, oh my God, how did you do that? So when you close, when you end it so powerfully with something so powerful that it leaves an impression in the mind of your audience. You get the point? So your presentation has to open with a bang and close with a bang so that you become memorable in the minds of your audience. Any questions? No, I'm not going to let you ask a question right now. I'm going to move ahead and I'm going to talk about your voice. Let me talk about the voice and let me give you a few points as far as your voice is concerned. You know, remember, your voice is a magnificent tool that you have. And if you use your voice well, you can really, really capture the attention of your audience. And I'm going to try and do that in the next slide. And let me elaborate these points one by one as far as your voice is concerned. Okay, here am I. So, I'm going to take each one of these points and explain it to you. The first one is projection. Can any one of you tell me what is voice projection? Projection of the voice. Okay, let me explain it to you. Very simple. You are sitting in various cities in Andhra Pradesh right now. You know where I am sitting? You know where I am? I'm sitting in a place called Koramangala in Bangalore. But what is happening, because of the use of technology, my voice and my picture is getting projected to you in different locations. So what does therefore the word projection mean? The word projection means to throw, to throw something at a distance. Now we need to project our voice. How do we project our voice? We project our voice by talking little louder than usual. If I were only to talk to one person, I would talk like this. Hey, how are you? Is everything good? Is everything fine with you? But no, I'm right now not talking to one person. I'm talking to 10 engineering colleges across maybe 10 cities. And maybe in each classroom, if there are 25, 30 students, I'm talking to 250 to 300 students. My voice has to make an impact on them. So I'm using the projection quality of my voice to send my voice out to each one of you. Do you get projection? That is what voice projection means. Number two is articulation. Articulation means, very simply, articulation means two things. Articulation means that when each word that you use, that word must be spoken clearly. Sometimes we speak, but we don't speak very clearly. If I don't open my mouth wide enough, the word will not come out clearly. The word can be mumbled like that. Oh no. I remember a former Indian cricket captain like that, and when he would give an interview, he would say, oh, you know, something like that. That means the person is not articulate, means the words are not clear. Clarity means articulation. Number one. Number two, important to remember, sometimes we speak without thinking. And when we speak without thinking, what do? We say, if I'm doing an if I'm doing a well, if I'm doing a which means I've still not thought what is it that I have to say, and therefore I'm thinking aloud. Now please keep in mind that when you have done your preparation well, when you have done your homework well, when you know what is it that you're going to present, when you know why you are presenting, when you know who you are presenting to, all that homework when you've done well, and you have also used speaking skills, which means you know enough about the subject and you have thought it through in your mind, that's when you will achieve articulation. It seems I'm losing some of you on the screen, so I'm just trying to redo this and come back. Okay, so I don't know whether I'm still visible, because a little while ago there were more screens on my screen. I've lost some of the screens right now. Anyway, I think I'll go on because I think you can still all hear me. Is that correct?
Just go to the type and stay with them. Are you all on?
Can you all hear me? Can you give me an affirmation to say yes, you can hear me? Because I am suddenly losing a few screens on my screen, so I'm just wondering. Oh yes, I've got a yes, so I'm going to go ahead. That's Sri Prakash from Tuni saying yes. Oh, you are as far as Tuni, is it? Great. So I'm going to the third point, which is modulation. Voice modulation. Some of you may know what is voice modulation. Can any one of you tell me what is voice modulation? Anybody? Voice modulation? Okay, let me tell you. Voice modulation is the fluctuation between the pitch and tone. Just to give you an example, let me clarify that. Supposing I say sa, sa re ga. Now the sa, I am catching the sa, it's sa, sa re ga. I can also say sa, sa re ga. I can also say sa, sa re ga. Now you see, the sa can be taken up high to a sa, or it can be also brought down to a sa. Now this fluctuation is called modulation. If I do not modulate my voice, what will happen? My voice will sound like a dead voice. I'll just try and demonstrate to you what a monotone or a single tone voice is. I'm speaking to you and I'm speaking to you and I keep speaking to you like that. I don't modulate my voice. I don't take it up. I don't take it down. I just keep it at that pitch. I don't have no modulation and I keep talking to you like this throughout the next 1 hour. What will happen? What will happen is you will start losing interest because the voice is not sounding interesting enough. To make your voice sound interesting, we have to fluctuate the frequency between the pitch and the tone. Pitch is high, tone is low. And I need to get my voice to move up and down. That will what will make it interesting for people to hear. But if you speak in a flat, only a single tone, people will lose interest over a period of time. Okay, so that is modulation. It takes a little practice, but if you practice it, it is achievable. It just takes a little practice to do. My second last point on the slide is pronunciation. This is important because most of the time in the professional space, for example, I'm a Bengali. I'm a native of Bengal. Bengalis have difficulty with certain words. For example, W-H-Y. Bengali will not say Y, they'll say bhai. So the moment he says, you hear somebody saying bhai, you know that the person is a Bengali. I had a friend once, in fact he was a colleague of mine, we used to work together, and once he came to my launch instead of lunch. Similarly, you go to Punjab, people in Punjab cannot say manager, they'll say manager. You go to Kerala, people have difficulty saying simple, they'll say symbol. So we all have it. The point is, we laugh at each other and we make fun of each other. Important thing is to recognize it and rectify it. And I'm telling you, it takes a little while, it takes a little practice for you to do it. My suggestion to all of you is whenever you are making a presentation, before that, record your voice on a voice recorder. Listen to it. When you listen to it yourself, you will know which word is right, which word is not right. Look at the dictionary. Look at the phonetics. Correct yourself. And that's how you'll make better pronunciation. And that's how your pronunciation will become better and better and better over a period of time. Last but not least in the screen, as far as your voice is concerned, is speed. Now, speed is important. Sometimes you can slow down. When you slow down, you can create a little drama. Sometimes you can hasten it up. When you speed it up, you can enthuse your audience. You can use speed to either create drama or to create enthusiasm with your audience. So these are a few things that I would request you to remember as far as your voice is concerned. A few useful tips. Always look at humor. If you can make people laugh, dress appropriately. I'm not going to go into dress because I think Mithun has spent enough time on dress. He's also spent enough time on movements. I'm not going to talk about that. Be careful about the equipment that you use, microphone, your audiovisual equipment, check it out, do a test run, all of that, and reach your venue much before time. Finally, use the lighthouse technique. I call it the lighthouse technique. I think Mithun also spoke about it, and I want to say this and I explain this to you. Look at people. When you are talking one-to-one, you look at one person, but when you are talking to people in a group, look at each and everybody. Throw the light of your eyes towards every corner of the room. As much as possible, make eye contact with people, because when you make eye contact with people, they feel that you're looking at them and talking to them. Now for me, sitting in a studio and talking to all of you in different locations, I'm looking at the camera to make eye contact with you. But had I been in person, I would have made that effort to make eye contact with each one of you sitting in the room. And that is why I call it the lighthouse technique. Use the lighthouse technique because that will help you make eye contact with your audience. And finally, close powerfully. Just as a comedian should leave them laughing, a speaker should leave them thinking. At the end of your presentation, you should leave your audience thinking a little bit about what you have just spoken. Question time again. Go ahead. Throw your questions to me. Anything to do with presentation skills. Do you want me to end? Look, I have just one more section. You want me to do that? It'll take another 15 minutes. So can you finish in 2 minutes? Yes. Okay, go ahead. Questions, questions. Questions, please. GMRIT questions, please. FMDC, Prakasham Engineering College, Sri Prakash. Go ahead. Any questions? Remember, questions clarify doubts. And any one of us may have doubts in our mind. This is an opportunity for you to clarify any doubts that you have in your mind. So please feel free. Who will ask me the first question? One question I often get in presentation is people asking me, can I carry notes? If I have written down something, can I carry it? Can I hold it in my hand? My answer is, yes, you can. You can, there's no problem. You can refer to notes. And it is a good idea to refer to notes because you don't have to bank on your memory all the time. But as far as possible, keep it discreetly. What I do at times is I have small notepads like these. And I keep it somewhere where my audience can't see it. And I glance at them very, very discreetly so that my audience does not know. But it is all right to even carry them in your hand because that will give you more confidence because you don't have to bank on your memory. GMRIT says we have no questions. Okay, what about others? Prakasham? Sri Prakash, any questions? All right, so if there are no more questions, we're going to move ahead into the last section. And this last section, we're going to spend just about 15 minutes. I know Mithun has already spent a little time here with all of you, and I'm going to keep it very, very short and simple for all of you. And I'm going to talk about a few tips on handling an interview. The first point which I want to make here is all of us have to be very, very careful, and all of us have to understand what is the employer looking at. What does my employer want? What does any employer want? An employer, remember, an employer is looking for 3 things. And I'm telling you clearly what are the 3 things the employer is looking for. The employer is looking at 3 things. The employer is looking at knowledge, the employer is looking at skill, and the employer is looking at your attitude. Which matters the most? All 3 matter. All of the 3 matter. But what matters the most is your attitude. Attitude, skill, and knowledge, all 3 matter, but they look at all the 3 of them. So they will test you to see whether you have the knowledge, they will test you to see whether you have the right skills, and they will test you to see whether you have the right attitude. And to do that, most often, 9 out of 10 times, you will be asked a simple question. What is the question? Tell me something about yourself. That is the question which people ask. Tell me something about yourself. You know, and these are the 4 key things that they will look at. You got to create the right first impression through your body language, the way you dress, which is something Mithun has talked about. You have to project and say that you have technical and subject matter expertise, which is your knowledge. Softer skills, which you demonstrate through your body language, your etiquette, all of that. And you have to prove that you have the right attitude. And the common question that will come to you is the question, tell me something about yourself. Now most people say, my name is so-and-so, I did my engineering in so-and-so, I studied in so-and-so college, my parents are this. Those are very, very conventional ways of addressing. I have a few suggestions, and that's coming up on your screen here. These are a few interesting beginnings, and you may want to write it down. I can summarize who I am in 3 words. When I was 9, I wanted to be, now it does not have to be 9 for you, it can be 12, it can be 15, it can be 6 or 8 or whatever you have a story about. I have always been certain about what I wanted in my life. At 7, I used to think, but subsequently I changed my mind. I am someone who preserves, or I am someone who likes to, or I am someone who is interested in. So I've only given you a few examples of how you can make an interesting beginning to the question, tell me something about yourself. Because most people will go and give very conventional answers. Sir, my name is so-and-so, I am from so-and-so city, I have done engineering from so-and-so college. He already knows that. He knows your name from your biodata. He knows your engineering college from your biodata form that you have filled. He knows which city you are coming from. You don't have to repeat all that information. You give him information which will make him realize that you can communicate and make it interesting for him. And that will what will prove to him that you have the right kind of attitude. Next, and my last point here, I'm not going to take too much time, very simple point, focus on your strengths and weaknesses. And people are going to talk to you, they're going to ask you about your strengths and weaknesses. If you have strength, elaborate them. Now, if you have weaknesses, which we all have, how do you project your weakness in a way which also says that it is a strength? Can any one of you give me an example? How can you project your weakness in a way that it will sound like your strength? I'll give you an example. For example, somebody asked me, what is your weakness? I told once in an interview, I said, one of my greatest weakness is that I set very high standards for myself. And as a process, what happens, if I don't achieve the big thing that I'm wanting to achieve, I end up feeling frustrated at times. But is setting a high standard a good thing or a bad thing? It's a good thing. So I am projecting my weakness in a manner where it becomes my strength. So I would like you to think about yourself. Each one of you should think about yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And therefore, how can you project your weakness in a way that it can be like a strength for you? Okay, so with that, I am giving you the final opportunity to ask questions. Go ahead. Any questions on interview, any questions on presentations, or any questions on communication skills is what we started with. Go ahead. Please feel free to ask any questions that you may have. I have just 2-3 minutes time, and I will try and answer as many questions in this next 2-3 minutes. Go on. Who has the first question? After I say thank you. Will you come here?
No, I think.
GMRIT is saying no questions. Thank you, sir. You are welcome. Anybody else? Any questions? Feel free. We just have about a minute or so. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, I'm going to say thank you to you. I'm going to say Dhanyavadalu. I'm also going to wish you the very best. Subhakankshalu from me to all of you. May all of you have a great career. May all of you have a phenomenal career for all of you yourself. I'm going to hand over to Melroy. Melroy, I think, will spend about a couple of minutes before we call it a day here. Thank you very much. God bless.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Melroy here. I'll take just 1 minute of your time. So thank you very much for today's session. Thank you very much for attending and being such a wonderful audience. And my 19 years of experience in the corporate life, today you might not see the impact of this training, but believe me, when you go enter the corporate world, when you join the big brands as graduates, this kind of training which is conducted today will help you a long way in your career. Tomorrow when you go international, you travel for your projects globally, believe me, not only just globally but in India as well, how you behave, how you talk, how you walk, it makes a big difference and in your career perspective as well. Also the first session, for example, the mathematical session which was conducted, I hope the concepts were clear to you. And I'm sure with that understanding and learning, along with the soft skills training, you'll take this as a package in your career and you'll do well. So I just want to wish you all the best, do well, and God bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nag Babu sir and Divya madam for your support and cooperation, the entire APSSDC team to make this a success. And thank you all the colleges, I think about 10, 12 colleges who have attended this session across the state of Andhra Pradesh. So thank you very much. God bless you all. Take care. Good night.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. We'll meet on next Saturday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir.